Hey everyone, welcome. Beautiful day in Montreal, Canada for stop number 6 of 8 of the 2024 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Huge crowd on hand. The first time we've ever been to Montreal, in fact, to Canada for the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Welcome in everyone. Trace Worthington, cliff diving expert Joey Zuber hanging with you. Let's give him old school style right here. We're ready for this, you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have 12 women, 12 men, best cliff divers in the world, ready to rock, and points at stake and on the line as we come into the, latter part of the season. We have this stop, Joey, 2 stops left. Look at this beautiful sight. No excuses for the divers. It's coming down to the wire this season. Pretty fun.
Particularly with the men. I mean, that point spread with the series, I mean, it's just nothing between it. Just 2 points between Constantine, Aiden Heslop, and Jane Lichtenstein, of course, who's leading the way. But a great day here in Montreal. Beautiful and sunny, nice and warm. That's what we like to see.
Well, look at that platform right there, Joey. You have the women's platform below, so that stands right now at 21 meters, 70 feet above the waters of the St. Lawrence River. And then the men's platform, 27 meters, 90 feet above the water. And let's go to the top of that tower right now with David O.C. He's hanging out with his life preserver on. Safety first, Dave. What's up?
How's it going, everyone? Yeah, it's definitely dangerous up here. You can see this is strapped on. It's like a seat belt, which keeps me nice and safe. I'm not gonna lie, I've got the jitters. So 27 meters here in the port of Montreal. As you can see, the place is filling up. The weather is so nice. And actually what's so interesting about this setup is it's actually shaped a little bit like a crane. It looks like a crane. And that is designed to kind of fit into the scenery here in Montreal Port. And actually the craziest thing, I was talking to the team that built it, they actually had to crane it over this building to get it here into position. So it certainly had some hurdles, but we're gonna see some insane diving. And I'm actually just very excited, mostly for the diving, but also to get off this 27-meter platform.
It's not quite your wakeboarding days there, is it, Dave O'Queen?
All right, Dave, be safe up there. So, Dave will get off the men's platform again. That thing, 27 meters, 90 feet off the river, and a beautiful day here again in downtown Montreal. And we are ready for 12 women, 12 men. We'll go into round 2. Round 1 took place yesterday, by the way, so in all 4 rounds count in the competition. So round 2 women, round 2 men, pretty simple. Round 3 women, round 3 men. Tomorrow we'll go live at 4 p.m. East Coast time here in North America from Montreal for the final round 4. But Joey, just looking at these platforms, your thoughts?
I mean, look, this is actually an adapted crane tower. So he said it looked like a crane tower, but let me tell you, it is a crane tower. So most of these crane towers come in 10-meter sections, and as he was saying, they had to haul the sections of the tower over the back of the building, over the dock, and then they bolt them together, and they've got these wonderful platforms there, a very steady platform for the athletes to dive on here today for round 2 and 3, and of course tomorrow for round 4 for the live show.
You've been doing this a long time. You're an expert diver, former champion. I've been commentating this a long time, but there are a lot of people new to watching the sport of cliff diving, much less the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. If you're curious on how it all works, we've got your back. Check this out.
Each Red Bull cliff diving event features 8 permanent and 4 wildcard divers per gender. There are 4 rounds of diving, with varying levels of difficulty. The panel of 5 judges has less than 3 seconds to evaluate the parts of each dive. The judges then award scores from 0 to 10. The highest and lowest scores are eliminated, and the remaining 3 added together. This total, multiplied by the degree of difficulty, gives the dive score. And all 4 dives are added together for the event score. Finally, series points are awarded at every event, with a bonus point for the best dive of the competition. At the end of the series, the divers with the highest series points are awarded the King Kahikili Trophy.
So that's how it all works. Pretty straightforward. The judges have their work cut out for them because there's a lot of divers here, Joey, diving very well. Olivier Morneau-Ricard, we talked to him yesterday, the head judge here from Canada. Cyril Mechcon is here, Marion Reif, Valio Palazzo of Italy, and Sam Dorman, the Olympic silver medalist in diving from
Great
Rio Games. Yep. Great to see him, and Sam joins that panel of judges sitting out on the pontoon boat. So they're situated right below the platforms, again, the men's and women's platforms, as we get set for the first time that Montreal and Canada will host the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. It's the 30th country, Joey, in the history, the 15-year history of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series to hold this wonderful event.
Yeah, it's amazing when you think back about how many different locations we've been to, and of course we have different situations. Sometimes we're diving directly from the cliff face, like you see in locations like Portugal, diving from those fantastic volcanic monolithic structures. La Rochelle, France was a big one that stood out to me with 75,000 spectators. But here in Montreal, this is another great venue for the locals to get up close and personal. Once again, it's always really important to reiterate. It's one thing, of course, to look at it on the YouTube channel or watch it on TV, but to see it in person, I really recommend it. If you're in Montreal, come down and check out the show. And of course, we've got the last round of diving tomorrow, and that'll take place at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, good stuff, Joey. And speaking of YouTube, if you're watching this and you're listening to us right now, that means you are watching it. So you have the chat room. We're looking at it right now on our computer screen. So if you guys have any questions, we'll do the best we can. Or, again, our colleagues from the staff at Red Bull Cliff Diving will answer those questions for you as well. So feel free to type in. A lot of Molly Carlson fans here, Joey Zuber. And Molly Carlson, by the way, qualified #1 after the first round. But it's all 4 rounds that count. That's a reminder. So these divers have to be super, super consistent to get it done. As we look at the Grand Quay of the Port of Montreal, that's where we are based, into, again, the St. Lawrence River, as we look at the skyline of downtown Montreal.
And you'll notice, actually, in the start list, you'll see some of the big names. They're not necessarily always at the top of the rank after round 1. It's quite interesting to start to see how things begin to change, particularly with round 2 and 3. So round 2 that's coming up will be an intermediate round, and then we'll have the optional dives. We'll see some big dives, particularly from Molly Carlson, doing a front quad half.
Yeah, here's the start list. Simone Leadhead didn't have a great round yesterday, so she'll kick things off. This is a low score from yesterday. She'll go first. So, and Amy Harris, another Canadian, will dive #2. But, you know, Ellie Smart from the United States has to get, you know, step on the gas a little bit here to get some points before the end of the season. And she will rock off the platform #4. So, you know, then we get into the top 6, Joey, and this is where it gets busy. You know, they have Kaylee Arnett up there, the American, who came on strong, winning 2 stops. I mean, not winning 2 stops, but 2 second-place finishes at the only 2 stops she's been in. So she's back from a knee injury. And you have Jeannie Van Katwijk, who's all of a sudden you know, burst onto the scene as a wild card diver. She's right in the mix. And then you have Rhea and Molly right there at the end. Those guys are just going tit for tat all year long, but Rhiannon Niflin always comes out on top after the 4th round in terms of results this season.
Yeah, and some great stories with Kaylee Arnett, as you mentioned, hitting the podium. And that, you know, she made 2nd in Boston. That was her first ever appearance in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. So remarkable performance by her, and also Jeannie Van Katwijk with that podium finish in Northern Ireland as well. So great to see how much the field is starting to develop. And here's the that daunting climb up the crane tower. Here we go.
It looks like Amy Harrison right there. The birthday girl, by the way, she turns 30 today. So happy birthday, Canadian. Amy Harrison, she will dive #2. Simone Leadhead right there on the right-hand side. She will drop in first. So, Joey, the key to the 2nd round, explain what the 2nd round is all about, because people are wondering, is this where they break out the big stuff? Are we going to see the big twists and flips during this round?
We're going to call it the tease, right? So what we saw yesterday was round 1, which is the required dive. And a required dive means they're normally performing more simple maneuvers, single somersaults, double somersaults. Intermediate rounds will be a step up. You'll start to see some triple somersaults. But round 3, after this round, is when you start to see the round which is called the optionals. Unlimited degree of difficulty, meaning you can push the limit. So the more somersaults and twists you perform, the higher the degree of difficulty tariff. And of course, then that is multiplied by the scores from the judges. So to make sure everyone's clear, the judges are not judging how difficult the dive is, right? So they're just looking at the execution. How is the takeoff? How is the flight? And how is the entry? As we look at the waters here of Montreal and the safety divers down there, of course, making sure the athletes are A-OK after the dive.
We'll break this down to the thing again. You know, 5 judges, the score between 1 and 10. They'll hold up their scorecards. It's pretty simple that way, but Yeah, Joey, speaking of what, I mean, compare it to like football game, right? You can have like 5 spectacular catches, right? One-handers and all these spectacular catches, and then the other team will score 3 touchdowns that aren't so spectacular, but they'll win the game. So to your point on sort of this, execution is key. It's not always the degree of difficulty, and busting out the big stuff will get you on top of the podium.
Exactly. We've seen that story definitely being prevalent with James Lichtenstein. It doesn't have the highest degree of difficulty, doesn't have low degree of difficulty either, but he's demonstrated that with his high execution. Well, that means he can get on the leaderboard. But let's get into the action. Simone Leadhead.
Right here from Montreal. And again, very uncharacteristic of her performances this season to be last coming into the second round, but not a big deal when you're looking at 4 rounds of diving to complete this event.
And also it's worth mentioning Simone had a fantastic competition in Greece and Athens at the beginning of the season by hitting the podium as well. So we know she's got great potential. She's still very young. She's still learning the ropes. And the thing about cliff diving is this: you're diving outdoors, right? Sometimes it can be cold. It can be windy. The wind is picking up here a little bit, but the previous 2 stops in Oslo was very windy. Northern Ireland, incredibly cold temperatures. So the sport is definitely about adaptability. And you can only really get adaptable with experience. So as she gains more experience in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, no doubt we're going to see her start to become more consistent.
And you see that win you were talking about, Joey. So it's just picking up a teeny bit. Not too bad. I mean, we've seen a lot worse, especially when you look at like Northern Ireland and stop. Big wins coming up there. And especially also Norway, the last stop. As we get ready for Simone Leadhead, the 21-year-old Canadian. A lot of people wonder, hey, well, how do these guys get in this sport? Well, Simone Leadhead still competes in 3-meter diving at a national level.
Definitely lots of different ways to get into the sport of cliff diving. Some of them transfer from disciplines like gymnastics or trampolining. I've even seen aerial skiers in the past even take up cliff diving. But traditionally, the foundation of cliff diving is still diving combined with some trampolining maneuvers called the Barani, but we'll get into that in more detail. There's the birds or the water view, let's call it, of our safety divers. Got one of the hardest jobs.
So Simone Leadhead in front of the hometown crowd, as Molly Carlson likes it. They're good friends. Molly has mentored Simone through the days in the last several years into the diving scene, but a good way to kick things off for Simone Leadhead. She needed that dive for round 2.
Yeah, she was definitely very disappointed yesterday. She had her reverse dive and she basically took off quite fast and she found it very difficult to control the rotation. But she's done a fantastic job. It's all about the reset, right? Okay, you don't have a great first dive, but you still got to put that aside and figure out how to get your head back into the game and dive well. And she's done a fantastic job with the triple half. Slightly shorter vertical, leaving the chin out a little bit. Short meaning just a little bit under-rotated. But still, once again, to make sure everyone understands, this is 21 meters, right? That's 70 feet high. That's way up there. We're talking about the 6th, 7th story of a high-rise for the women's platform here. These are incredibly brave women.
So you see the high and the low are tossed. Those are the ones in the faded gray. So on her second round, looking at yellow, 71.40. So obviously being the first diver in the second round, that will lead the way, or she will lead the way, excuse me, with a 93.50. So Leadhead will take that into the third round, which we'll see her again shortly. Leadhead, the first to go of 12 women before we get into the second round of the men. Guess what? Well, happy birthday, Amy Harrison, turning 30 today.
There we go. How cool is that?
And in Canada. She's from the other side of the country, from Victoria.
Well, actually, and she was, last minute to come here as well.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Exactly. So someone had to withdraw, and then she was messaging me going, I'm on the plane. I actually messaged her and said, hey, we'll see you in Montreal. And she says, no, I don't think so. 1 hour later, she messaged me and says, guess what? I'm on the plane.
Yeah, it's not uncommon when somebody pulls out of a competition or there's an injury of one of the other divers, they'll ask and invite some other people next on the list. And if they get on that plane, Joey, they're in. Amy Harrison got that call.
No, it wasn't an easy journey. She got stuck in Atlanta and had to spend overnight there and finally made it here. Here she is on the platform. Feet half on, half off. That's the technique you need. Rotating inwards now.
All right, so the now 30-year-old Amy Harrison on her birthday drops in to the St. Lawrence for her second round dive. Joey, what I did notice on that, again, just looking at it from somebody who doesn't watch a lot of cliff diving or diving in general, standing not in the center of the platform, a little bit off to the side, which was interesting to me.
Yeah, it is a good question, actually. I would dare say a lot of the divers are quite superstitious. They kind of like to stand on the platform to the side, might be the right or the left. Sometimes when they're diving in their own home pool, there might be something in the pool that visually disturbs them, so they might like to stand on the platform to the right. So it becomes almost like this superstitious kind of ritual. It's like, no, I always dive from the right-hand side. And if you don't do that, if you stand in the middle or the left, you feel a little bit uncomfortable. And that's really the reason behind it. But you will see the athletes go through this ritualistic process before the dive, doing their visualizations. They all have their own way of getting into the zone before the dive, and you need that because you're always, you got to face it, man, you're always nervous up there. Always. Every single time I got on the platform, I understood the consequences. If I didn't concentrate and if the dive didn't go well, you're going to have a hard landing.
So 92 is the total after the first 2 rounds are added together. Remember, all 4 rounds are added together. So we're in round 2 of the women. Amy Harrison, who you just saw drop in, is second to go of 12. Morgan Hugliano from Switzerland, 24 years old. Next to go here, stop number 6 of 8 here in Montreal, Canada. First time we've been to Montreal in Canada for the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Harvard grad. Herculeano with a beautiful dive. You know, Joey, the first round yesterday, when we were in the divers area watching it, hanging out with them, I was like, hey, man, that was a great, everyone, hey, that was a great dive. That was a great dive. Her, everybody. And they were like, yeah, but everyone else dove well too. Like, yesterday was a pretty epic day. Like, we usually see a lot of mistakes happening, but yesterday was a good day for a lot of divers.
Yeah, and sometimes you can see it. Like, I mean, you can dive well and you get 7 halves, you get a few 8s. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. But you can be back like in 8th place. And that's what I was actually saying, like, quite often you're in the men's field, you always see like Costa and Aiden, sometimes they're back in the field and everyone's thinking, oh, what's gone wrong? And they're like, wait till you see their big dives and they're definitely going to catch up for lost ground. There's a great shot as they hurtle towards the water. If you're wondering how fast they're traveling, that's about 71 kilometers per hour, almost 50 miles per hour as they touch the surface. If you're wondering how deep it is, well, it's pretty deep. So the minimum requirement is 5 meters.
This one's like 12 meters, 40 feet, from what I understand, Joey. So plenty of room.
Yep.
Herculano in that, and the yellow, 71.40. So move her into the lead after 3 divers. She's the third to go of 12, 118.20. Again, it's reverse run order from yesterday's competition. So the lowest scores yesterday are the first divers to go. Then we get into the top divers here shortly, including Rhiannon Niflin and, of course, Montreal's own Molly Carlson. And when you look at YouTube, and we are looking at a lot of the chats here, you guys, thanks for weighing in. A lot of Molly fans here with her Brave Gang crew, family. She's got nearly 100 family and friends on hand, but go to the top now for Ellie Smart, the 28-year-old American, currently ranked number 10 in the World Series point standings.
Forward 2 somersaults, 2.5 twists. Just love to see how different divers approach things differently. Some twisting action.
All right, there you go, Ellie.
Yeah.
Putting one in, solid dive. Tough season for her so far. We talked to her in the lobby yesterday, Joey. She said, I'm training hard. I still have a few events left. I'm gonna step on the gas pedal and see what I can pull off here. Good attitude. She's
definitely the entrepreneur, as we like to say. She's always got some kind of event on the freestyle cliff diving.
Yeah, she did one of the she did actually compete in one of the freestyle.
Yeah, she did.
Very fun.
Which is awesome. but she's definitely one of the busiest athletes I know in the field. I have no idea how she fits everything in. I mean, she basically goes training, goes home, gets on the laptop, starts organising. If she's not on a laptop, she's on a plane flying somewhere, managing an event. Pretty impressive. I don't know where she finds the energy. Probably only sleeps like 2 hours a night to be able to do all that. But that's what you need. She also definitely does a lot to help the young generation coming up the ranks as well.
It's exhausting. Folks, Rob and Julia, they're on hand. Always huge fans of the sport, and Ellie. Couple sevens in there. She'll keep at a 6.5 for a 69.70 for that dive. Round 2, rolling up 2 together. 121.70 for Smart. So Ellie in the lead. Herculano in second. Lead head in third. Maria Paula Quintero, that pathway to the women's platform, 21 meters, 70 feet. That nice little ladder chute there.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of my high diving show days. So we used to have this round pool. It looked like a little fish bowl when you got up the top. So it's basically one of those ladders, and it just had guy wires diving into a pool that was only about 10 meters wide. It's about 33 feet wide. Not much, let me tell you. It was absolutely terrifying the first time I did that in a show.
All right, Maria Paula Quintero, as you like to say, Joey, a little bit heavier landing than normal, meaning a bigger splash coming into the water. That will definitely impact the scores. Maybe not as much as traditional diving when you see those types of events, but
yeah,
it still impacts the scores pretty big here in cliff diving.
The challenge with cliff diving as well is the visual. So it just depends on what you're sort of looking at. And here in this particular location, you got quite a high ledge from the dock downwards. I mean, it looks like around about 8 or 9 meters or so. So sometimes, depending on what's going on, you might be looking, I'm finding it hard to differentiate between the wall and the surface of the water. So sometimes if you've got, let's say, brown water and you've got a brown cliff face, you might not be able to see that horizontal line at the base there. I'm not entirely sure if that was the reason why that happened. I don't want to speculate, but each location has its own challenges.
Okay, so Quintero with a 51 on that dive, so she'll roll up into 105.60 when you add 1 and 2 together. Yeah. 4 rounds of diving. All of them count. So currently, third place for Quintero. Still has a lot of room with 2 dives left. We'll see Johnny Paredes. We'll see him diving on the men's side. He qualified in the top 3 after the first round. Rhiannon Iflin also hanging out there. Downtown Montreal, Canada, hosting stop number 6 of 8 of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. If you just joined us, Trace Worthington here alongside Joey Zuber with David O.C. Hanging around the hot spot by the water. But right now, going to the top for a new diver from Madrid, Spain, Carlota Gonzalez Piero. Not bad in her debut on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Joey sitting next to me. He's always chuckling on my American Spanish accent voice. Piero.
Necesites ir por una escuela para aprender español, ¿no? ¿Sí o no? Tú necesitas lecciones. Okay. Yeah, okay. I spent a bit of time mixing.
I know, but you can speak fluent Spanish, so you're ready. It's good.
I can just... And Carlota.
How'd you do here?
Look pretty good. A little over twisted on the bottom, and I'll get into that as you look at the images here. So that's the Brani, just making those adjustments and just bringing one arm in too early. You can just see her starting to twist a little bit. Fortunately, actually, she's been training with Rhiannon Ifland quite a lot. So Rhiannon's been basing herself in Spain, in Madrid, and there's a fantastic indoor training center there. So she's really enjoyed training with Rhiannon Ifland.
Well, she pulls into 4th with that 44 on that dive, so 99.40 is her score after 2 rounds. There's Reed right there. That's pretty cool. I mean, yeah.
Well, I think that's got to
go. Here we go. Carlota, one of the smartest divers on the planet, being like, you know what? I'm just going to go train with Rhiannon Ifland. It's like, okay, that's a good move.
Yeah.
Speaking of moves.
Yeah, definitely. Nice little segue into Kaylee Arnett.
Kaylee Arnett.
Great to see you back.
Yeah, you and I are caught up with her. You're diving at the pool down the road, and local pool where a lot of the club divers train, Joey, and it's good to catch up with her about her knee and the back, one of the biggest injuries that she's had to deal with and face. little right knee injury, but that took her out of 2 competitions. Now she's back.
And speaking of back, so back 2 somersaults, 1 twist.
Haley Arnett going quick into the water. Safety divers down there doing their job, making sure she's safe. Haley's smart. There's Rob. Always in the mix. So in terms of the knee, Joey, you've done this before. We talked to Gary Hunt. We're going to see him in a little while, right? I was talking to him yesterday, and he said it's nice actually going head first for a while because he actually was training for the games. He competed in 10-meter platform there. But he said, yeah, I wasn't landing on my feet for months and months and months.
Yeah.
And for her, with the knee, maybe it would be better if she went head first, but you don't go head first in cliff diving, so you kind of have to manage the knee in this.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what you do, Sonny. You have to adapt. If you have had like a knee injury or let's say a groin injury, you might just switch your training around. Right, I'm just going to work on my acrobatics by landing feet first and then swap it around vice versa. Carlota Gonzalez, actually, the previous diver that we just watched, had a shoulder injury and basically she couldn't dive head first anymore, and that was one of the reasons why she switched over to actually try out cliff diving so she could land feet first. That paid in her favor in that regards. It was like a serendipitous way to get into it, so to speak.
Let's get a 122 on that. So Arnett will now lead the charge, and Arnett is 7 to go of 12. Good question on our YouTube chat, Joey. How many people get accepted and make it into the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series? Well, there are 8 permanent divers that can get invited every season. So after the season, between other events, including World Aquatics events and everything, rolling up some points, 8 will automatically get the invite. 4 will be invited to every stop as wild card divers. So in Haley Arnett's case, she was a wild card diver at the beginning of the season. 2 second-place finishes. Guess what the crew said? You're in. You're coming on board for the rest of the season. So that does happen.
And that's obviously what we saw with Rhiannon Ifland, so her first ever competition
she won it
in Texas in 2016, won the first event, and then she went on to win the King Kaikili Trophy that year.
Now 7 of them on the trophy, in the trophy case. So Nelly Chukhanivska of Ukraine, 17 years old, next to go. She placed high, Joey, coming into this round with the big names. Top of the leaderboard. Talk about she's got those ankles all wrapped up, Joe. You can talk about that in a second. Oh, nice smooth dive. I love that style. I just love the big singles.
The big singles.
Big singles.
Flying gainer. So some people say like gainer, right? So that kind of means reverse, but I love it. And the thing that's really cool about when you see the single somersaults is you get that feeling of height. And quite often we'd go to these competitions, for example, like in La Rochelle, France, had this massive crowd. And when anyone did like a flying front or flying reverse, you always actually heard the crowd go, whoa!
Look at this.
Look at that graceful, old school diving position. Okay, you can see the ankles there, they were strapped. Actually, she had a little bit of an injury in China before she came here. I was talking to Oleg, and he was saying that she was doing this rolling kind of action, this rolling Brani, and came back underneath the tower and then clocked her heels. So she was a little bit doubtful she was going to make it, but it seems like she got through the injury A-OK.
Too bad. Sitting in the middle there, by the way, Sam Dorman won the Olympic silver in Rio. Niska with a 121.60, put it in the top 3. There's Oleg there. Once again, this round is all about getting positioned for round 3 and enough points to be competitive in round 4. So Montreal, again, stop number 6 of 8. Grand Quay, the port of Montreal, is where this platform is built. And the theme of this platform ties into a lot of the infrastructure in this industrial area. As we look at Meili Carpenter, 36-year-old American.
And that's the running joke in Montreal. There's 2 seasons in Montreal. One is winter, the other one is construction. The winter's pretty brutal here. There's a lot of damage to the buildings and the streets.
Got a heart rate on her. So Carpenter drops in. The heart rate we had there is actually a live real-time heart rate of the divers when we do see that. Some of the divers are wearing a heart rate monitor. Hers underneath her suit. The men wear them on their arms. We'll point that out during the men's competition. But it's pretty interesting. That was a 102 heart rate.
Yeah.
The rock climber doesn't phase her being up there that high, but the others, Joey, are way up there.
Yeah, exactly. And to put it into context, so resting heart rate, let's say, I mean, if you're an athlete like marathon runner, resting heart rate around 40 beats per minute, average human around 55, 60 beats per minute. So you're getting up to 100. But when it comes time to do those optional dives, those big dives where you're busting out the big somersaulting, twisting maneuvers, obviously there's a lot of risk involved with that. Then you start to see the heart rate jack. We've even seen almost up to 170 beats per minute, and that is
it's great.
Way up there.
Somebody asked on here, Danielle Burton, you have not missed Molly. Her first round dive was yesterday in the top seed, but she is coming up. In fact, the running order looks like this. We have Maylee Carpenter coming with her 116 right there. But Maylee is 9 to go of 12. So Jeannie, the top three coming up now. Jeannie van Katwijk of the Netherlands, Rhiannon Ifland, and then Molly Carlson will dive last. And then we'll get into the men's second round, followed by the women's third, followed by the men's third round. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern time in North American time zone, the finals, round 4. Great dive by Jeannie. So Jeannie van Katwijk, a 39-year-old diver from the Netherlands, who's currently sitting third overall in the World Series points. Still diving strong and consistent this season.
Pretty amazing, isn't it? I mean, just how well she's dove and how much she's improved in such a short amount of time as well. And she was working in the cruise ships and decided, you know what? I'm going to stop working on the cruise ships. I'm going to take time out and base myself in Fort Lauderdale so I can really make sure I can train every day from the necessary heights. And it's definitely paid dividends for Jeannie van Katwijk.
7.5.
Yeah, managed to get some really high degree of difficulty dives off this year, and it's really helped her.
Yeah.
That was just a stunning display that we saw in Northern Ireland, crushing the entries.
We got folks on TikTok watching too, Joey, so welcome all those guys, and weigh in on some comments if you guys have them. So many people, thousands of people coming out to watch this Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, dive number 6 of 8. In Montreal, Canada. Many, many here to see local diver Molly Carlson coming up in 2.
Someone was actually asking how do they select the judges, and well, there's definitely a judges school. It's also in combination with World Aquatics and Red Bull Cliff Diving. So you have to go through a series of exams. You definitely have to have experience in diving and high diving. And then you also do what's called shadow judging. So when you're actually learning how to judge, you'll actually sit behind the judges in a competition and you'll write down your own scores. And then afterwards you sit down with the head judge and then get evaluated and discuss and talk about, you know, what are we looking for, you know. And that is the takeoff, of course, the flight and entry. There are many details, so it's definitely a rigorous process to become an elite judge in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series.
All right, so drilling one in there is Rhiannon Ifland. And she has just been putting 4 dives together. When an event that 4 rounds count, she is the most consistent. She has been for years. 7-time King Kahekili Trophy winner, well on her way to number 8 in this 2024 season. But I was talking to Molly yesterday. She's like, if I can just put together a 4th round dive, I'll get her.
Yeah,
I was always like, then Rhea still has to make a small mistake, even if that happens, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both of these athletes, Rhiannon Ifland and Molly Carlson, it's been so great to watch the competition between the two of them. Molly Carlson's got great technique, and so does Rhiannon Ifland. But I think where Rhiannon Ifland really performs well is with that entry, and that comes from that trampolining background. She's so consistent finding the water. And also, she is literally the most experienced cliff diver here on the scene right now. She's had more events and more competitions than anyone, and that definitely helps.
In fact, 46 podiums out of her 48 starts since she began.
No way.
Just back in 2016. So Rhiannon Ifland will now set the pace and put a little pressure on Molly Carlson. And listen in, folks, because you're going to hear the Montreal fans going absolutely berserk. I asked Molly if she was nervous to dive in front of the hometown fans. She said, yeah, it is. But then when I got out there, took a couple dives, got comfortable, it was more fun than it was nerve-wracking. But look at that heart rate. We saw Maylee Carpenter at about a 103. Molly's already at 127.
You too, please.
And she's just guiding the safety divers there. Just getting them into the right position that she likes. And she's got back 2 somersaults, 2 twists. Splashing, talking to the safety divers. A lot of communication going on. What a great shot for a great view from that balcony overlooking the tower in the water.
All right, there we go. That's what she needed in the second round to keep right in the mix. And Joey, from a competition standpoint, that's the type of dive you need to continue to keep close, maybe even stay ahead of Rhiannon Ifland through all 4 rounds.
Yeah, this is what we like to see. We like to see a great competition on our hands. And diving in front of your home crowd is not easy. I know Rhiannon Ifland, for example, in 2022, when she was diving in the finale in Sydney, she found it tough. I mean, there's a lot to do as well, right? There's a lot of media. There's a lot of interviews to do. I mean, they're busy.
Yeah.
As soon as they're getting up, there's always something going on. And Molly Carlson does such a great job dealing with that. Of course, doing a great job with her brave game.
Woo! Look at those scores. Lots of 9s up there.
Nice.
108.5. She'll toss that as you see the faded gray on the left-hand lower side of the screen. So 9-0, she'll drop one of those 9s. But look at that, with a 91.80 on her second round dive, she will lead the way going into the women's round 3, which is coming up shortly.
Oh, I like this. I like it. It's heating up. This is good. As Stefan, the coach, he's got to be happy with that one. But once again, right, you've got to get 4 dives down.
Yeah.
You've got to nail all 4 dives, particularly when you're up against Rhiannon Ifland.
So Carlson, 163.30, leads the charge. Ifland in second, Kotvik in third, leading into the women's third round. Coming up next, the men hit the platform. So there you go, 7 through 12. They've got their work cut out for them, but it's not over until after round 4. All Molly Carlson's super high scores. In fact, the ones she's kept from round 1 and 2, all 9s. She's dropped a few 8.5s in there, but Joey, very solid diving by Molly Carlson.
Yeah, and 10 points ahead of Rhiannon. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's definitely enough to give her a little bit of breathing space.
Men's start list. Charles Labadie of Canada makes his debut.
Charles Labadie.
Charles Labadie. You have Konstantin Popovich diving number 6, so he's the last year's Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. But Gary Hunt diving 5th, can't wait for that. He is back in the mix, the first that he has dove in this 2024 season after getting back from Paris, competing in the 10-meter platform competition there. But again, here we go again with Johnny Paredes and Charlotte Martinez.
Yeah, we've seen this again, right?
After the first round, they're crushing it. But here is a surprise as well. Nikita Fedotov leading after round 1. That hasn't been the case in a long time with Fedotov.
Man, he smoked that dive. Yeah. I mean, he got 10s on it. I mean, I'll tell you a little bit of a story about that dive, but he got out of the water thinking he was going to get 6s. He said he actually took off the platform on his flying front and started twisting in the air, and he's like, uh-oh, I've actually got to pike over. And then he drilled the entry. I mean, he honestly thought he was going to get caned by the judges, but he got out and saw 210s. He's like, no way. Couldn't believe it.
All right, so men's platform, folks. 27 meters, 90 feet off the St. Lawrence River. Get underway. This is round 2 for the men. So to get you back up to speed, round 1 took place yesterday, both women and the men. Round 2 for the women just wrapped up. Now we're in the men's round 2. After men's round 2, we'll go right into round 3 for both women and the men. Tomorrow is when we get underway with the final round and crown a champion here in Montreal. That is going to be a fun event to watch as we get ready for newcomer diver Charles Labadie making his debut. Only 17 years old. It's kind of nerve-wracking, huh?
It is. Here we go.
All right. Oh, come on.
Oh, Team Canada loves it.
Labadie drilling one in. Very nice.
Oh, bro, you got to be happy.
Get your confidence going.
How cool was that? I mean, the Canadian team here, they're just so vocal. It's great to see. And Montreal also being a great acrobatic hub. Of course, home to Cirque du Soleil, some great acrobats, amazing trampolinists, fantastic divers as well. And, they picked up a medal in Paris as well.
Yeah.
Men's synchronized 10-meter diving.
I mean, he's here with his heroes. He said, you know, when you ask him, like, who he wants to dive like, he's like, well, I want the degree of difficulty of Aiden Heslop. Well, Aiden's coming up. You have entry of Jonathan Prentice. Well, he's diving with Johnny, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And he's got Molly Carlson, who's mentored him through the way as well here. So he's got a lot of heroes, and Gary Hunt is his actual hero. Gary Hunt, that must be exciting for young Charles, 17 years old, to have Gary Hunt competing with him today.
And the great thing about Gary Hunt, and he's just such a gentleman, always willing to help people and help the new generation. An absolute gentleman. Speaking of another gentleman, Alexei Prigorov from Ukraine. Here we go.
Now, Alexei wasn't happy yesterday when I ran into him. He just wasn't psyched about that first round dive. Very bummed about it. He usually is in a higher position. But the fact that he's diving number 2 in the second round means he had a very low score. Something he wasn't happy about. Puts him into this position. So this has to be a really strong dive, Joey, to crawl back up that leaderboard going into round 3.
It does. There's still 3 more dives to come in total. Of course, 2 rounds today and 1 more round tomorrow for the final.
All right, so that's the way to do it right there. I love that dive. So unique and different.
Wow, there we go. That's the reaction. You see the people or the athletes or the cliff divers slap the water for 2 reasons only. 1, you've nailed it, or B, you stuffed it.
Yeah, right?
But this, okay, let's talk about this dive.
Yeah.
I love that half in, okay, that's reverse. So you've got to move forwards and rotate back towards the platform, reverse, that nice half in style. Of course, as they hurdle their way towards the water from 27 meters, 90 feet high, the 9th story of a high-rise, getting it straight and dialing it in for great scores
look
too.
At Olivier Morneau-Ricard gives him a 9. They'll drop that one. They'll drop an 8.5, keep 3 other 8.5. So a strong score for the Ukrainian diver, Alexei Prigorov, 37 years old. And he is relieved, Joey. You can see it right there, the emotions.
Yeah, taking a beat. It's been, maybe he's feeling a little ginger as well. I mean, the athletes' bodies are definitely feeling very sore. They're feeling extremely tired after Oslo, after those 2 very cold and windy competitions. Took a lot out of their body. So it's great to see the sun out today. I'm sure they're enjoying that, particularly for the Mexicans. They don't like cold, do they?
Sergio Guzman. Somebody just asked in the chat room, does the same crew build the platforms and the dive towers or whatever it is, the setup anyway,
it's different
at each stop?
It's different. We certainly, when we have the off-the-cliff competitions, we have a consistent crew that flies out that are very experienced climbers and riggers, and they tend to do those platforms. But when it's a situation like this, they work with local event organising committees
By the way,
and organisations.
I was talking to some of them today, Joey, this morning. They said this platform is so solid. Like, it is so solid. It doesn't move a bit, which the divers like.
There's a little bit of a sway. I mean, Maylee Carpenter was saying, yeah, there's a little bit of movement.
Okay.
So when you have those scaffolding towers, there's always a little bit of sway. There's a lot of concrete ballast at the bottom, but there is a tiny bit of movement.
All right, Guzman
Nice.
puts one in. Nice entry by the 33-year-old Mexican diver I spoke with a couple days ago, Joey. Said, just want to be smooth.
Saying my princesses, my wife and my daughter, a little Taekwondo expert.
Daughter Mia.
No, she's got a bit of kickback now, literally.
All right, but he was talking to me. I just want to be smooth, keep it consistent, do nothing crazy. I'm not doing anything new, not going backwards, you know. So he feels like he's progressing by the fact that he's just keeping the same dives, Joey, but doing them consistently and better and better.
Yeah, he's been diving really, really well. However, I have to say this, in this current modern age of cliff diving, the level is so high when referring to the difficulty of the dives and the complexity of the skills that we're seeing now. It's just mind-boggling, particularly when you look at athletes like Aiden Heslop and Konstantin Popovic, of course, and those spinners and flippers like James Lichtenstein and Carlos Jimeno, who we'll see coming up soon.
Guzman with 159 after 2 rounds of diving. 4 total rounds, both the women and the men, in all 4 counts. Built the platform we talk about on the Grand Quay of the port of Montreal. Spans 2 kilometers along the St. Lawrence River here, and the pier holding significant relevance in the primary docks constructed during the early 20th century, Joey, but now serves as a cruise ship terminal in addition to hosting many other events. It's a giant convention center. It's a beautiful space.
Been to Montreal quite a few times before, and actually some other towers in the background that might have been possible to dive from. And there's that one there in the background. It's quite an old structure.
You can also see behind that the Cirque du Soleil tents. Cirque was born in Montreal. Aiden Heslop spends a lot of time here in Montreal. In fact, he resides in Montreal with girlfriend Molly Carlson. He knows the weather and the water well.
Powerhouse duo.
Nice smooth dive by the 22-year-old Heslop of the UK. Sits top 3 right now in the overall points. In fact, number 2 behind James Lichtenstein. So this is a huge event for him and Konstantin Popovic in terms of that race for the King Ka-Keeley Trophy.
That's what he needed to do, just sneak his way through the water nice and clean. But once again, they still need to look at the takeoff, flight, and entry. There's that ball shape, so that's the tuck position. Piking out, and the relieving moment. Keeping his eye on the water, eye on the prize the whole time to adjust for the landing. But yeah, in terms of the series points, I mean, James Lichtenstein with 79 points and Heslop at 73 points and 71, so he definitely needs to make sure he gets ahead of James Lichtenstein here at this competition.
Whoa,
those
big
scores,
scores.
that's what he needs. Still 2 more dives to go, but that's what he needs to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Put some pressure on the big boys.
So on that dive, you see in yellow, 95.40. You add it together with round number 1. So Heslop crushing it with a 162.60. But Heslop, you know, diving number 4 of 12. So that score will hold Joey for sure based on what we've seen in the past.
I mean, it wasn't too bad of a dive in round 1. It's just that
It was so competitive.
it was.
Here he is. Love seeing this guy back. Gary Hunt, the 40-year-old Frenchman, the great Gary Hunt, and the greatest of all time in the sport of Red Bull cliff diving. Why has he been absent? He's finished diving in Paris, competing in the 10-meter platform synchro competition, placing 8th, right?
That's right, and
Nice.
what an incredible story it has been for Gary Hunt. An illustrious career in diving and cliff diving.
And as smooth as Gary Hunt always is, not missing a beat. The man who has won 10 King Ka-Keeley trophies Joey, and has more World Series starts than anyone. This is start number 99 of his career since 2009.
And he had to take that break to compete in Paris. He couldn't quite get that consecutive run because he's never ever missed a beat or never ever missed a competition until this year when he had to compete in Paris. And actually, he struggled a little bit with his dive in training because it's been a while since he's been cliff diving. He had to focus, of course, with the head first entries. So it just took him a little bit of time to dial it back in, but he's definitely dialed it here and you can on the gainer triple.
You can tell by his tan that he has been doing a lot more indoor diving than outdoor cliff diving.
That never changed. Didn't matter when the sun was out, mate.
Gary's good at the sunblock. He's good at the sunblock.
He's a British boy at heart. He's a white.
8.5.
Sorry, Gary. I love
it's all right. We say it to his face. We're right around the corner. We can 163.20 for the GOAT of men's cliff diving, Gary Hunt. I thought he was coming and sneaking up on him is Rhiannon Iflin, though, with her dives and her results. But several more years before anyone could surpass that man with 77 World Series podium finishes.
Yeah, you can see him sort of moving his neck there. He's definitely had some issues with his neck when he's been diving headfirst a lot from 10 meter.
So here's Popovich. Here's Popovich.
Let's do this
again in another, in the middle of the pack after round one. We've seen him in this position before.
This is partner Angie Passenbrunner. So this is very important right now.
Yeah.
Okay, stop number 6. Every single dive, every single moment will play a factor in the King Kai Kelly Trophy. Let's remember that, yeah?
There you go. Costa style, which is always a bit different, Joey, I've noticed. He's a small, he's rock solid. He's in wicked shape, but he's just got that smaller build. Dives differently than some of the taller guys like you see Alexei Prigorov, but I love watching his style. It's definitely different and unique. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I would say the style, if I had to describe it, is dynamic. I mean, he's a real athlete. Look at the flexibility.
Yeah, that's
like a pocket knife folded in half, digging deep. Nice little quick Barani there for the entry. And he comes from an excellent foundation of diving. So he's very dynamic, very quick when he moves. So some divers move smooth, but talk about smooth scores there.
Wow,
Konstantin
excellent.
Popovich.
Excellent scores for Popovich. The Romanian Shark needed that as he's 6 to go of 12. And he will now crawl out of the basement and get way back up on that leaderboard, the 168.60. So that ought to hold pretty well in terms of positions going into men's round 3. So now it's Popovich in the lead. Gary Hunt's actually in second right now, Joey.
And just to remind everyone, Popovich, of course, won the King Kai Kelly Trophy last year, and he would dearly love to win another one.
But as you mentioned, he's got to have a good event here.
Yeah, absolutely.
To get ahead of James.
This is crunch time now. I mean, James got that little bump up, right, by getting first. You just get a few extra points by getting into first, which gave him a little bit of breathing room. I'm sure James is feeling the pressure too.
There goes Jimeno. Carlos Jimeno, 34-year-old of Spain. 27 meters, 90 feet off the St. Lawrence River. All right, here we go. Now we are in the top 6 divers that know what just happened with Popovich, Hunt, and Heslop. So really important for these guys to stay super consistent from here on out.
Absolutely.
And what do you think of this one? What do people need to do difficulty-wise during this round, Joey? I mean, what to you stands out?
Well, look, I mean, this is a fixed degree of difficulty round, and so that means basically everyone has the same degree of difficulty. So what they really need to do is get excellent execution, and that doesn't really matter whether you're doing a required dive, intermediate dive, or an optional dive. It's all about execution for this particular round, and you'll start to see the field open up and change a little bit when it comes into round 3, when you have the unlimited degree of difficulty. Just pluming up a little bit of splash. It looked like he was casted as well, sort of landing a little bit on the side. So particularly when you're doing that Barani, which is that last part of the dive, sometimes they'll actually shift and they'll land a little bit sideways and kick up a bit of splash, but he looks a little disappointed.
So Jimeno will keep 3 7.5s after the high and the lower toss. So yeah, he will be disappointed with this one. Very uncharacteristic for the Spaniard. It's usually a little bit higher up on the leader, on the board.
Just a step in. Yes.
Jimeno in 5th. Sorry, Joey.
Yeah, no, I was just going to cap off that topic about the intermediate dive. So 3.6 is the degree of difficulty set at 3.6. So that's what everyone has. But if you do actually have a dive that has lesser degree of difficulty than that, then you will only receive that tariff. So if the dive's 3.0, you'll only get 3.0.
So here's James, who has a little bit more work to do as well. Been really consistently in that top 3 or 4, I would say, after the first round of diving. So now here he is, not a bad position, diving 8 of 12. Here's your World Series leader currently in 2024. James Lichtenstein, 29 years old, from the United States.
Safety divers splashing the water, helping the athlete see the surface. Doesn't make it any softer.
Come in a little bit.
So James has got a gainer triple. Right, reverse 3 somersaults in tuck position. He's stuck to these rotating dives, right? Can twist, but he's like, do you know what? Stick to the flipping.
Dave Coulter of the United States diving next, standing behind him. There he is, Mr. Consistent, James Lichtenstein, the World Series leader here in 2024. Great job. His parents here. You were hanging out with his parents yesterday, weren't you?
Yeah, I had a great chat to them, actually. Wonderful people. His dad's a doctor, a physician, who just recently retired as well. Gastroenterologist.
His girlfriend.
And he's very proud, and Christina as well. So his parents are, of course, extremely proud of James. James has definitely come a long way from his humble beginnings. He's worked hard. And working hard on the takeoff. So this is reverse triple. Looked like it was a tad slow on takeoff. He did a great job making sure he hung on to the right moment to kick out of the position. So staying consistent is key, and that's what he's done so well. Hasn't missed a beat. He's made the podium every single stop this season. He's the only athlete to do that so far in the men's field.
Great guy, super chill, very unassuming when you run into him.
Yep, clever man.
Very focused on the task at hand. Did a nice job this season in terms of results. That is not the score that James Lichtenstein was looking for, though, after round 2 of a total of 150, Joey, on that. That puts him into 6th place leading into men's round 3.
I mean, 7 halves, you might be thinking, oh, that's still pretty good. I mean, but in the context of the caliber of the field, that means a lot. You really need to be getting minimum 8s on every single dive if you want to be in the running for a podium. But there's still time to make up for lost ground. Anything can happen.
Thousands of fans out to watch the world's best cliff divers here at stop number 6 of 8. The first time Montreal and the country of Canada has hosted the World Series. So right here in North America, USA's David Coulter, qualifying pretty high for Dave in comparison to the statistics in the past several events. So maybe he'll turn this into something here in Montreal, Joey, if he can get some stuff done in all 4 rounds.
Had a great triple half.
Coulter putting together a nice second round. That will help him, Joey, getting into the 3rd round. 67th career start on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series.
Very nice. Nice. We'll take it.
He said, we'll take it. The first thing you think of if you're new to cliff diving is, wow, 67 starts. That ought to beat up your body a little bit.
Yeah, and he's definitely beat himself up, that's for sure. He's had 2 lots of shoulder surgery. Many of the athletes have, of course, been through quite a number of severe injuries. It's pretty common, actually, for the legs to actually pull apart underneath the water. Lots of adductor injuries and knee injuries. But David has done a fantastic job keeping himself in great physical shape. He's right into his health. Eating good, sleeping good.
Yeah.
A lot of breathing, a lot of meditation. Put a lot of effort into his training. We watched him at the pool in Montreal, and he definitely put in the hard yards to get ready for this competition.
All right, there you go, Dave.
Yeah, good scores,
Nice
man.
scores by Cole Turi, 91.80 on that dive. So the 264.60 puts him right up there. And the leaderboard is sitting second behind Popovich. A great position for Dave. Beautiful day here in downtown Montreal, in the Grand Quay, the port of Montreal. The green roof. Pretty cool there, Joey, boasting over 24,000 flowering plants. Just love it. Beautiful up there. Took a little hike up there yesterday. It's great for viewers.
Little bees. I've been stung by a few in my time.
Did you?
Actually, no, I'm not joking. Hey, get out of here. Watching the cliff diving.
That observation tower built in 2021, or an observation tower built there in 2021. And that shot right there, Habitat 67, Joey, was designed by Canadian architect Mashi Safdie. It's part of his thesis as a student from McGill University. Later built as part of the Expo of 67 and World's Fair held in Montreal in 1967. But what a cool building you see in the background. A college student who had that as part of his thesis.
Could you imagine
Turn
just
into
being
that.
a student and then that actually getting built? I mean, what a claim to fame. Gotta be proud of that.
Jonathan Berettas. And there you go.
Be proud. How about that?
Rip, rip, Johnny. There you go.
Dialing it
In
in.
a high position after round 1. Very typical of Jonathan Paredes. Back on the podium after several years of not. And this season, putting one down in Pognano Amare. So we'll see what Johnny can turn this into here in Montreal.
Yeah, it was great to see him get back on the podium. It was a while between drinks. But each athlete carries their own style, and Jonathan definitely has style, particularly with the last part of the dive. He really understands how to maneuver the body at the right time, and everything looks really smooth, right? It just transitions well out of the somersaults into the briny. Very clean diving. Good scores for Jonathan Paredes.
Yeah, good scores. So after you add his first and second round together, that second round being a 91.80, Johnny comes in with a 166 flat. So he is behind Popovich now by just a couple points. Not a big deal in terms of this being a 4-round everything counts competition.
Great if we get the spectators in the water, hey? I'm used to those events with all the paddleboards and the boats out there. But still, it's a great sight, particularly from that balcony there.
I love watching this guy. I mean, look at, coming in, making his debut this season. And he's now one of the top-ranked guys on the points. Joloto Martinez, 21 years old, of Mexico. Ranked number 2 coming into this round. Joloto Martinez, a bit of a splash on that, Joey. We've seen him have better entries, but nevertheless, the kid is confident on this tour with all of his idols diving next to him, but he's learning a lot. You can tell he's a little sponge. I saw you talking to him. I saw you coaching him yesterday a little bit out there. Takes it all in, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's fine. Well, he just came up to me. He's like, Joy, I want to do this new dive and show me the lead up. So when I say lead ups, you do the build ups in say 10 meters or 12 meters. So you do the first stage of the dive, and that's where most of the acrobatic maneuvers come. So he's already hungry and keen to increase his degree of difficulty. But
well, great.
There's certainly been some conversations with the coaches just to say, okay, let's just hold off. Let's make sure we master the more simple dives first, and then we can move on to the more difficult dives. But in terms terms of technical ability, we know he's got it, and he's been diving so well with so little experience. This is awesome.
All 8s across the board. You were telling me yesterday he was asking you what he should do, and you said the right thing. You said, you know what, maybe you should consult Adi Jimenez and maybe talk to her first before I weigh in on this. Smart move, Joey. All right, 164.80. So Martinez, the youngster, 21 years old, puts himself in a great position coming to the men's 3rd round. Just to get you up to speed, first rounds for both the women and the men happened yesterday. Today, women's round 2 already in the books. Molly Carlson leads the way. We are at the tail end and the very end of the men's round 2. We will get into women's round 3, all 12 women, and then back to the men for their 3rd round, all 12 men. And here's the top qualifier after the first round. This reverse order. So Nikita Fedotov having the high score after round number 1. Beautiful dive on that one, Joey. So fun to watch, but this will give him some confidence. We haven't seen him be the top qualifier that many times coming into the 2nd round, much less any round.
Yeah, I mean, he had a few hard hits. I mean, he learned the back arm stand 4.5 pike. And did give him some troubles. Just you can hear that wind starting to pick up a little bit.
Hear it. Oh, Nikita Fedotov back and look at Guzman. Guzman's like, what?
He's like, chihuahua.
Oleg likes it. Nikita Fedotov, that's what you need to do for the 2nd round. To back up that first round, right? I mean, it's like,
yeah, I mean, he got some 10s on his dive and the round yesterday. That's just awesome. And like I said, he had a little bit of rough trot in Polignano Amade, and he's looking like he's getting back on track. Beautiful inward triple half. Got such nice, neat toes. He's got great toe line, body line through the water. Such a fun character to hang out with as well.
He's got the smaller Speedos in comparison to the other guys. Just to get it out there. There's a few people in the chat room, so I just want to throw that out there. We get it.
Budget smuggling in noodle bending territory.
We know.
Yeah.
He's been known for that.
Yeah.
Oh, did he not do his dive? He got a 0 on that. That's something's different, but Fedotov, no. 171, so it's just a mistake there on the graphic. So 171.20 for Fedotov. So he will keep that dive.
And Oleg Shivanov, who's helped coach Nikita, and also Artem Sulchenko, one of the greats in the cliff diving scene as well. So he's done a lot for the sport, produced many cliff divers over the years. Nikita based in China as well at the moment, in Shenzhen. Been a busy boy.
Fedotov will warm up. Rolled out 171.20 on that. So there you go, the correct score on that, 90 points. It's a big score. So 171.20 once again for Nikita Fedotov. Look how serious he is.
Well, he's actually just talking about, he's just describing what it was like going through the water. So sometimes there's different sensations and feelings. Sometimes the water's harder or softer, and just feel himself scooping through the water a bit there.
Let's look at this. What stands out, Joey? I mean, Popovich stands out to me, kind of crawling back up from going from diving 6th all the way up now into 2nd place. Brett is still hanging in there.
Yeah.
Volturi, that's a great job by him.
Exactly. So, okay, Konstantin, I mean, he's just right behind Nikita Fedotov, but Konstantin, of course, has got the advantage with those high degree of difficulty dives to come, but we don't see James Lichtenstein in the top 5 at the moment. He's sitting back in 10th at the moment, so a good 20 points away, right? I mean, it's got some making up to do.
Well, there's still 2 rounds to go for the men, but James will need to get up there a little bit higher. And then Heslop, they're opening up the window and the door for Konstantin Popovich.
Yeah, but not too much between, 7th and actually say 1st there. I mean, there's not too much in it.
Okay. So cool, beautiful day. Continues in downtown Montreal, Canada. Stop number 6 of 8. The 2024 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Trace Worthington, Joey Zuber, thanks for hanging with us so far. YouTube, TikTok fans, and also thanks for weighing in on some of the comments. I'm glad our crew and our staff, our colleagues at Red Bull Cliff Diving can answer a bunch of the questions. We're doing our best as well. But we now have completed 2 rounds of diving for both the women and the men. Get right into the women's round number 3. A couple Canadians alongside David O.C. right now. Charles Labadie and Molly Carlson hanging with Dave. What's up, Dave?
Molly, welcome to, obviously, well, I'm saying welcome. How has it been having an event here, and has there been any challenges with that?
You know, I almost cry every time I stand on that podium, or platform, because I'm literally like, oh my gosh, the happy tears. They're running, and I just have to somehow calm myself down and do the dive. So it's a new challenge, but the best challenge yet.
Well, no doubt you will be, hopefully, on that platform, but we'll wait and see where that goes.
Yes.
Charles, how has this been the most incredible experience to have your debut on home soil?
Oh, it was so great for me to start, especially here in Montreal, to have my family, my friends to watch, and it's also such a nice venue with the platforms are super nice, the water's great, and I'm just so happy to be there.
Amazing, amazing. And Molly, you know, you're going into this 3rd and 4th round, you've got a tiny bit of breathing room, if I'm not mistaken. The DD is going to be the same between you and Ree. How are you going to prepare for that?
Actually, I don't think it is. I'm doing my hardest dive right now, so I'm really just trying to keep hitting one dive after the other, and I want to get back in the zone and hit my biggest dive in front of this home crowd.
All right, amazing. Well, good luck. And lastly, Charles, going forward, do you hope to kind of make a bit of an impact and hopefully do some more diving here at the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series?
Oh, definitely. If I can show what I'm capable of doing this weekend and hopefully get invited later this year or even next year as a wild card, it would be such a great opportunity for me to be back on Red Bull Cliff Diving.
Amazing. Merci beaucoup at the two of you, and good luck in the next few rounds.
Old Dave practicing his French, that's great. Good boy, paying his respects.
That's great to hear from those guys, though. Charles Labadie, he's only 17 years old, so his first ever Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series interview.
Cool.
You're a little nervous there. Start list for women's round number 3. It's led by 2 Canadians, Harrison and Leadhead. Once again, all 4 rounds count in Red Bull Cliff Diving. Round 4 happening tomorrow. That'll be live, Red Bull TV, TikTok, YouTube, ESPN2 in the United States. It's going to be a lot of fun. So here are the top 6. So Ellie Smart will dive number 8. She needs a strong results. Kaylee Arnett still in the mix, holding down the fort. Back from her knee injury. And then you get into the top 3. Jenny Van Kotvik, Rhiannon Iflin, Molly Carlson. In terms of degree of difficulty, Molly touched on that. She's going to throw her biggest degree of difficulty.
Yeah, and sometimes that's a strategy as well. So sometimes you might want to do that more difficult dive in round 3 as opposed to round 4, just to take the pressure off a little bit. So hopefully if she does a really good dive here in round 3, then she can come into the 4th and final round tomorrow just feeling a little bit more confident. And perhaps, you know, if she does well here, she'll have a bit of a lead over Rhiannon. And that's what you need to do. So sometimes Rhea actually also switches things around. She'll put her hardest dive in round 3 or in the 4th and final round. That's what makes actually Rhiannon very such an adaptable athlete and so competitive that she can just shift and change things. She's got a great repertoire of dives as well. But both Molly and Rhiannon Iflan are very, very capable athletes. Such a great technical standard. Got lots of people shouting out on the chat line. People for Jeannie, people for Molly, people for Ree.
There's a lot of chatter going on between everybody for the women's 3rd round dive.
And that's it. It's when the nerves start to build up, particularly with the optional dives. And we've got Amy Harrison jumping up and down, just trying to get psyched up for the dive, loosening up those shoulders, getting in the zone. So Amy's going to do a back 3 somersaults with 1 twist in the pike position. So the graphics on the left-hand side of the screen will show you what type of dive they're doing, how high the degree of difficulty is. That's 3.9 DD, meaning degree of difficulty. So the top will show you the direction of the rotation back reverse or inwards. So reverse is when you're facing forwards, moving forwards, rotating back towards the platform. Inwards is when you're standing backwards but rotating in towards the platform. Hayley Carpenter getting warmed up. Doing those last-minute visualizations before the dive. So visualization is incredibly important in this sport. Being able to picture the dive perfectly in the mind will help the execution.
If you just joined us, the top of the running order, 12 women. Round number 3. The women's platform, 21 meters, 70 feet off the water. The depth, 12 meters, 40 feet. Safety divers in place, making sure everything's cool as we get underway. Round number 3, led by Amy Harrison, who's celebrating her 30th birthday today.
Here we go, taking the 21-meter plunge, 70 feet up.
Okay, so Harrison coming in a little bit different than you would normally see some of the other divers, Joey. Their hands clinched together. Break that down when we see the replay, but nevertheless, Amy Harrison, who was only invited Tuesday, who made her way out.
Yeah.
Not bad, just coming here and getting it done from that height of 21 meters, 70 feet.
And sometimes that's difficult when you get that last-minute call. You're like, whoa, you know, am I really prepared properly? But she has been training in Fort Lauderdale, so she moved out to that training facility to make sure she can train regularly. So there's the pike position. Bit of a bend in the knees there. Maybe some deductions. A little early into the brani there. And you can see the arms coming up, right? So the arms came out in front. So there will be some deductions for that. And that would mean that she was feeling like she was a little bit fast in the rotation. Just putting the arms out in front. So they said before, judges will take some points off for that. They need to be tucked in close to the body, so a little disappointing for Amy, but nonetheless, still a good performance considering she just got the call a few days ago.
44.85, you see in yellow. That's her 3rd round dive. Had 1, 2, and 3 rounds together. Hear the crowd going crazy for this next diver, Simone Leadhead. Local diver from Montreal. Molly Carlson trains with her. Mishap at the diving facility they've had here. Better diving facilities in the world. A little bit of a fire months ago. They're rebuilding it.
In Parc Olympique. And so there was a fire that went through there, and that's where they have the indoor high diving training center. So they have a 15-meter platform, 17 and a 20. And that's indoors. So
is that the highest indoor?
At the moment, yeah. Maybe a higher one soon. Here we go. Exact same divers, Amy Harrison, back 3 somersaults, 1 twist.
All right, so Simone Leadhead coming in hot into the St. Lawrence for her 3rd round dive. Bit of a splash on that one, Joey, for the college student who graduated in health and sciences last summer. Now diving full time. Trying to get that permanent spot on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series secured again.
And Simone Leadhead, she's actually still in 4th place in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series rankings at the moment. So just having a few little hiccups, but I love the takeoff, love a beautiful form in the air. And there's a great team environment amongst all the Canadians, supporting each other, training with each other, pushing each other to excel in this sport. And it's so difficult to dive well from 21 meters, 70 feet up. It's just around about 2.5 seconds in the air. It's just so little time to make those adjustments for the landing. So just a little mishap on the landing, but the takeoff and the flight was beautiful.
So 169.55 for Simone Leadhead, local diver from Montreal. puts her in to first.
We're gonna get there, we're gonna get there.
Simone Leadhead getting it done here in Montreal. Coach Steph already talking about the fourth and final round, which will happen tomorrow, 4 p.m. East Coast time here in North America and in Montreal. 2200 CEST. We'll be live for that on Red Bull TV, TikTok, YouTube, and on ESPN2. Pelota Gonzalez Viero. That was good. Yeah.
Here we go. In with 2 somersaults, half twist the pike position. The most important thing is gaining experience.
Viero making her debut on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Do you remember your first time diving on a big event like this, Joey?
I do. It was
pretty nervous.
Red Bull Cliff Diving in Montreal in Switzerland, and it was, man, daunting, scary, diving off this waterfall. I mean, there was just so much to take in, right? You don't know all the athletes. You're trying to find out how everything works and how the system is, and then trying to understand how to dive from those heights and what the visuals are like. And it was definitely one of the most nerve-wracking experiences of my career. But once I got a few dives off, and that's the tricky part, is just making sure you get the first dive off and you start to feel comfortable. But always that first dive at a new location is the most terrifying. Usually that one will settle the nerves and you're like, oh, I'm okay. I can do this, and you actually start to reset and start to be able to think about your dive properly. It's a bit like getting tunnel vision, right? Like when you first do it, you just can't see everything properly, but with time, you do more dives, the vision starts to open up. But great job by Carlotta and gaining that oh so valuable experience in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series.
Pretty good place to kick off your debut on the World Series, Joey, Montreal, just with in terms of the weather.
Yep.
And the platform, nice and stable.
Well, we're lucky it wasn't so good like 3 days ago.
That's what I mean. Or Northern Ireland, you know what I mean? Like, it's just breezy. And then Oslo was really windy for a lot of the divers. So, good for her to start a place like this. Of course, Montreal, local team here, have been great hosts. As we go to the top now for Maria Paula Quintero. Needs averages of 5.5 to get into the lead over lead head, 169.55.
Big dive.
Paula Quintero, the 24-year-old Colombian, having a great season, putting one down. So Maria Paula Quintero, the 24-year-old Colombian, currently ranked 7 in the World Series points with an outstanding dive. She's having a great season so far, Joey. Just really consistent.
Yeah, and she's actually been talking about that, how she was like, you know what, I'm just going to take the pressure off myself, try to take everything in and enjoy myself. Maria Paula Quintero, the first woman in the world to perform front quad half, and quad half means a front 4 somersaults in the tuck position with a half twist. But later in the show, we'll see Molly actually perform the exact same dive in the pike position. This is a dive that's pretty scary. It's very easy to slip out of that tuck position. You can see her hands holding onto the shins. Very important you dry your legs off, and some of the athletes use a resin or even kind of like a shaving cream, and when it's dry it makes a nice tacky kind of surface. So a little shorter vertical. Still good diving for Maria Paula Quintero.
Put her into the lead. So a bunch of 6s after dropping the high and the low. So 76 in yellow on that dive, 181.60. So Paula Quintero, 4 to drop in of 12 women here in the 3rd round. We'll get into the men's 3rd round next, as thousands have rolled in here in Montreal. Many of which here to see Molly Carlson and the other local divers. Molly Carlson will dive last in this round, so she's coming up shortly. Appreciate all the fans in Montreal supporting the World Series. We go to the next diver, Amelia Carpenter of the United States. Going quick. Love the twisting in the middle, Joey. So, heating up on her third round dive, which is exactly what she needs to get into the top of that leaderboard or close to the top of it going into the fourth and final round.
She's a great all-round athlete, performed in many shows around the world. Gymnastics, also a great rock climber. Worked on many different kinds of circus apparatus as well. It was interesting, just before a dive, you could actually see her giving herself a good pep talk. She was sort of talking to herself like, come on, you can do this. You definitely need to do that. Give yourself a cup of confidence. That positive self-talk, that visualization is key in this sport. It's part physical strength, part skill, part mental control. You've got to get all of those parts working together to make sure you can put in a good dive.
It's interesting. She said that no matter how many times that she steps on that platform and looks down, it never gets easier. As she makes that one look easy with 76.
Wasn't butter, so
That's your takeoff.
yeah, it felt good.
Like really strong, just not the main lead we know.
All right.
Up and down.
Just want to hear what she had to say there. So 76 on that, but a 192.90 for Carpenter. So puts her on top of the leaderboard, ahead of Quintero, lead head. So Meili, 5 to go, 12. Morgan Herculano, Switzerland, Harvard grad. So it's just a reminder, just trying to make sure that the safety divers down below are in a good position for her and comfortable. Safety divers are down there to make sure everything's cool. So Joey, go ahead.
So if you look at the graphics, once again, that'll tell you what they're doing. So back, turning backwards. And down below that is 3 somersaults on the graphics. 1 twist. 6.5s to move into the lead.
Now, it's going to be tough on that one. So Herculano, her third round. Everybody who watches diving, everybody knows, you know, it's like coming off, you know, in gymnastics and stepping backwards with both feet on the mat after landing. Bigger splash in diving, very similar stuff.
Exactly. Once again, the judges are looking at the complete dive, the takeoff. Is it nice and high? Yep, nice and strong. There's that pike position. Like I said, a little tighter. You get more points in those pike positions when the legs are straight and push right against the body, showing that maximum flexibility. Just slightly hunched on entry. It's really important to make sure you're as straight as possible. Be tight. You got to be like a knife. You got to cut through the water to get those rip entries.
So Herculano will settle for a 54.6. That's what's in yellow for her third round dive. You add 3 together so far, 172.80. She'll refocus for tomorrow's fourth round. As we see Ellie Smart making her way, she'll dive shortly onto the women's platform, 21 meters, 70 feet off the water. Nili Chukanivska, the 17-year-old Ukraine diver, is coming up next. Yeah, another youngster, 17 years old, only her second ever start on the World Series. She made her debut, Joey, at the last stop in Oslo.
A relatively new dive for her, inward triple half. So that's an inward 3 somersaults with a half twist. So hear me say triple half, that's slang in the cliff diving scene. She has an unconventional inward start. She starts with her arms wide. Traditionally, that would mean that you're going to rotate backwards. She'll bring her arms up above her head to throw into inwards. Yeah!
Whoa, how about that? Come on.
Nelly Chukanivska.
Second youngest female athlete in the
Blazing
history of the
it
Red
through
Bull
the
Cliff
water.
Diving World Series. Wow. I was talking to her coach Oleg yesterday. I said, how is she? You like her style? And, you know, he did the whole like, huh, you know, she's got a lot of learning to do. You know, that's it. Never gives her the full credit, right?
No, well, sometimes you need the tough go sometimes. It's like, there's always room for improvement, right? Got those ankle bandages on, so she did collect the heels on the platform training in China, but great to see her overcome that little hiccup. And look at this entry. Nelly Chukuniska smoking it. And she's actually won that junior competition in Montreal in 2022, the international high diving event there. So we know she's got a lot of potential. Good scores for Nelly. Well done.
Well done, indeed. 8s on that, 108.5, 96.5. So 212.25. For the 17-year-old, putting herself in a great position. Again, leading into the women's 4th round. Happening tomorrow live.
Here goes everything. What a character. I love it.
Haley Arnett.
Yeah.
See her dive shortly. Getting down to the top. Female divers in the 3rd round after 2 rounds of diving. Ellie Smart.
It was just interesting watching Kaylee climb up the ladder. She was the only one in bare feet. Everyone else is like, you know, got the little cotton feet and their little slip-ons. But anyway, let's refocus. Let's talk about Ellie Smart here. Some twisting action going on. Back 2 somersaults, 3 twists.
It's all 8s to pull into the top spot. Chukuniska with a 212.25. Heart rate high. 145.6 going down a little bit. Pretty interesting. That's a live, real-time heartbeat. Heart rate on Ellie Smart. Oh, beautiful dive there by Ellie Smart, and it's exactly what she needed, Joey. Beautiful twisting. Love looking at that. I always like the twisting coming off the platform. Just aesthetically interesting to me.
It's nice to see some twisting dives. I mean, I've seen quint twisting dives as well. We've seen reverse 2 somersaults, 5 twists. David Couture's done that in the past. Ellie Smart actually has done this dive with 4 twists. But it was very, very challenging to control. It's hard when you really start stepping it up. Once you actually go from 1.5 twists, 2.5 twists, it's not too bad. But when you make that leap from 2.5 twists to 3.5 twists, that becomes very hard to control, particularly with double somersaulting dives. Good job controlling that particular dive, though. What do the judges think?
They think she should get an 81 on that.
No. I asked the scuba divers and they were like...
She's also indicating that you can really feel her heels coming behind her underneath the water. And sometimes you'll hear the athletes come out and they say, man, I got ragdolled. And underneath the water, you know, it might be a really nice dive, but you just get destroyed underneath the water.
So Smart now in 2nd behind Chukuniska. The 17-year-old Ukraine diver with a 212.25 is the top score after 3 rounds. Carpenter in 3rd. And then we will now check out Kaylee Arnett, followed by Gina Van Kotvik, and then Ifland and Carlson. Top 2 qualifiers coming in, and the top 2 on the World Series points. She is a character. Just catching up with her a couple days ago, talking about the knee. She's like, whatever. You just go. You just dive. Do what you can.
The knee, it has affected her choice of dives. So normally she would do a reverse triple somersault pike. So she's opted to just pull it back a little bit to do a front triple half. And there is nothing wrong with that because you need a lot of power from the platform. So she made a good decision, in my opinion.
Kaylee Arnett, the wild card diver, who has 2 second-place finishes in the only 2 competitions this season.
Okay. I'm trying to figure it out. Like
the water
good,
is
bad, yes, no.
The water is 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. It's pretty warm, right? So can't be that. Maybe a little bit of her knee, or she's just being the character she is.
Could be.
Her words were a bit
be anything.
different yesterday than I was talking about than mine. But
Yeah. Exactly. Very clean through the water. And we'll be able to see how she lands through the water. Good takeoff. Look at that exquisite pike position. Folded right against her body. A lot of experience performing in shows. Looking at the entry, yeah, tiny bit short of vertical. But man, did she sneak through the water. Great disappearing act. But sometimes when you have really good entries, like I was saying before, you can still feel the impact. Some locations, you'll really get out of the water and say, whoof, that was brutal. But good scores for Kaylee Arnett.
she's just chilling out, as we know she does. 2:12.05 after 3 rounds. So Shukanivska, the 17-year-old Ukraine diver, still in the lead. And only 0.20 separates Arnett and Shukanivska. Great women's competition in the 3rd round. Rhiannon Iflin makes her way to the top of the women's platform. But first, Jeannie van Kotvik, the Netherlands, followed by Iflin. Then we'll see Molly Carlson, the local Montreal diver. And after that, we'll get right into the men's 3rd round.
So Jeannie van Kotvik, the 2nd highest degree of difficulty this round, so 4.2. It's a really hard dive, this one. Arm stand forward, 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists.
So there you go. Jeannie putting another one down. Matt Cooper, wildcard diver, her husband. He's relieved.
Yeah, he took a little deep breath there, didn't he? He was like,
He's already coaching her through Ellie Smart.
but how impressive is this, right? 21 meters up, 70 feet high, performing an arm stand, multiple somersaults and twists. She drilled that dive in Northern Ireland.
I mean, people would just wonder how scary this is, Joey, when you're on your arm, arm stand.
Well, it's
the end of that
hard enough.
platform.
Yeah, it's just hard enough standing on your feet, looking down and holding that balance and just landing short of vertical. Short meaning not quite making that full amount of rotation to get to that vertical line. It's very, very hard to generate rotations. You have to bend at the waist, kick the heels to get it moving, entering the twist there. It just looked like she needed a little bit more gas from the top of the takeoff to get enough rotation. So I dare say that's why she under-rotated a little bit. But full marks, full credit, performing the arm stand from that platform.
So where did the judges get her? These are low scores. What did you see?
Well, obviously the end of the dive was quite short of vertical as well, but there may have been a few deductions for form in the air as well. So a little bit of bent arms as well. So it's really important to have nice straight arms and nice neat form throughout the dive. But ultimately it came down to what happened on the entry of that particular dive.
So take that 197.70 into the 4th round. All 4 runs count. 2 divers left in the women's 3rd round. So look at how tight the leaderboard is right there. Wow, by 0.20 leads Shukanivska.
How's that Shukanivska, right?
Smart in 3rd and good spot, yeah.
Okay, Rhiannon Ifland with her, I like to call it her signature dive. Normally scores 9s on this in the triple half. Has backed off the degree of difficulty and chosen to come back to this dive. She was doing a front twister.
So there you go. Rhiannon Iflin once again. As I always say, once again. Because it's easy to say that with Rhiannon Iflin. The 7-time Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champ. Putting one down here for the 3rd round. That's exactly what she needed to do. Again, typical of Rhi.
Yeah,
coming in hot.
Definitely a really interesting strategy by doing the inward triple half. Normally she would be doing that in her intermediate round. And she was doing the front twister, but I dare say she's chosen to do this dive for one of her optional rounds because she knows it's a really consistent dive. And she does have a really good lead in the World Series rankings right now. So 99 points over Molly Carlson, who's in second place with 75 points. So she just might be saying, do you know what? I'm just going to play it safe, keep it nice and consistent. And she normally scores 9s in that dive, like I was saying just before. Definitely the GOAT.
Yeah.
The Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series for the women's field. An absolute legend. Yeah, there we go.
And we'll keep
the
3 nines. Yeah. So drop 2 of them. Look at that, 99.90 for her third round dive. It's still not over yet, folks, but 252.90 is a big score, leading by now 40 points above Chukanievska and Kaylee Arnett. So there you go, big scores for Ifland. Hard to catch her if you're any of the other names below in dark blue. So Molly Carlson, she'll need something special here to hang in there with Rhee and have a chance at winning here in Montreal on her home turf.
Okay, Molly Carlson has got a big dive. Coming up forward, 4 somersaults. In the pike position with a half twist, highest DD in this round. Jeannie Van Kutschwick at 4.2. You can see that flashing in red, the left-hand corner of the screen. That's the dive that she's going to do, and the tariff. It's way up there. She'll need 7s from the judges to move ahead of Rhiannon Ifland. Of course, the harder the dive, the harder it is to nail the entry. Whew, big deep breath for Molly Carlson.
Oh, Carlson on her home turf, her home soil, her home water in Montreal. Fans going nuts. Putting herself in a great position.
And the crowd goes wild. And a Brave Gang team there supporting her. Definitely a popular girl worldwide, and here in Montreal. Hop, skip, and a jump. Molly Carlson into the quad half. Beautiful pike. Coming around for the entry. Looking pretty good, just ever so slightly hunched. But a very good dive for Molly Carlson. But the only one who can be the judge is, of course, the judges sitting in the boat. And the fate of Molly Carlson in their hands. And also coming up into round 4 tomorrow, we have the exact reverse situation with Rhiannon Ifland with a 4.4 degree of difficulty, and then Molly Carlson doing the exact same dive that Rhiannon Ifland did today. So it's a really interesting strategy, right? Tit for tat. Molly decides to do her most difficult dive in round 3 today, but Rhiannon Ifland will leave her most difficult dive for the finale tomorrow in round 4, and that is going to be exciting.
Couple of 8s, a 7 is what she'll keep. Multiply that by the high degree of difficulty. That'll get you a 101.20, and that'll get you a first place position after round number 3. So Carlson, 264.50, 12 points ahead of Rhiannon Ifland. Setting the pace, the tone. And as you mentioned, Joey, will be very interesting with the switch of degrees of difficulty coming into tomorrow's event.
Yeah.
But at the moment, Carlson will celebrate with a 264.50, bring that confidence into tomorrow.
That's interesting. So we got around about, so 14 points difference. That will give Molly Carlson some confidence and will give her a bit of breathing room. But we know one thing about Rhiannon Ifland. She knows how to fight, right? And knows how to handle pressure. This will be exciting no matter what tomorrow. So make sure you stay tuned for that. It should be 4 p.m. Montreal time, live.
It will be right here in Montreal, Canada, hosting the World Series. for the first time. Doing a great job at it. As we get set for men's round 3. Charles Labadie, who we heard from earlier, 17-year-old Canadian, gaining some experience, will kick it off. And there you go, Liechtenstein will dive number 3, your 2024 current World Series leader. We'll get right into the thick of things. Nikita Fedotov still diving last.
But if you look at the leaderboard, I mean, there wasn't much between it when you actually see it. 168, 166, 164, 164, 163. So you maybe back down, got Heslop in 7th position there, but there's like only 8 points between 7th position and 2nd. Yeah. So that's really tight, right? Which is what we want. This is going to be interesting.
It was funny. We were talking to Aiden yesterday about it. And I didn't realize he was so low in terms of like where he was on the leaderboard.
Yeah.
He was just like, dude, everybody's just diving so great here. Yeah, everybody.
But like I was just saying before, the point spread, there's not much in it. So stay tuned to this round. This will definitely shake things up.
Charles Labadie from Montreal. Only the second ever Canadian male to actually compete on the World Series.
That's right.
Taking advantage of that facility we were talking about earlier, and obviously the strength and the success of Lisanne Richard and now Molly Carlson. Really,
it's time for the boys to step up.
Yeah, exactly.
The ladies have been leading the field.
Away.
Good on them.
All right, Charles Labadie of Montreal, Canada kicks off the men's 3rd round and does it with style. And a great entry.
Charles Labadie.
Nice.
What a cool kid. Very bright young man. Great mathematician. Plays cello, plays violin, can play piano. And he can cliff dive, most importantly. But let me tell you, making that leap coming up from the junior ranks, when you're diving from, say, 12 meters to 15 meters, and then you make your way up to 20 meters. But then that leap from 20 meters all the way up to 27 is terrifying.
Still looked like he took one in the chin a little bit.
Yeah, he did. The main thing you actually start to notice is the wind picking up. You just can't believe how quick the last 2 to 3 meters is. It really comes up on you. So yeah, he was definitely short of vertical. There's a little bit of a punch underneath the chin there. Yeah, he's saying short. Yeah, you can feel it.
66.3 on that time, 193 for young Charles Labadie. That'll kick off the men's 3rd round. All 4 rounds count. Tomorrow, go back for the 4th and final round. Crown champions here in Montreal for stop number 6 of 8. Look at that silo, that ladder coming up. Nerve-wracking just alone before launching off the 27-meter, 90-foot platform. But here is Alexei Prigorov. Zane Heslop coming up the ladder, by the way. Let's see him shortly.
Okay. Quite high degree of difficulty, 5.1 DD, meaning degree of difficulty from this 27-meter tower.
There you go, coming in a bit short, Joey. Prigorov having a little bit of a rough go after that first round. Got it together in round 2. What do you think of this one? We were hanging out with him last night. How's he feeling?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a tough road, of course, for Alexei Prigorov, but he also has hit the podium before, so we know he's a fantastic diver. Great caliber. It looks like he definitely came up very short of vertical, and that will definitely be a hard hit on entry. And that can stem from a few things. Depends on how you do with the takeoff. The arm swinging up. Just looked like he just leant back a little bit on the takeoff. Looked like he could have had a little bit more gas and rotation. It is imperative to get the takeoff right, particularly when you're performing these dives with a really high number of somersaults and twists. Definitely coming up short of vertical. You can see that splash coming forward. Shades of Northern Ireland with that particular dive. Took a pretty heavy landing and he was winded on that particular one. But every single one of the cliff divers knows what it's like to have a hard landing. Gary Hunt, Konstantin Popovich, the best, all take their hard hits from time to time.
So Prigorov with that high degree of difficulty, even though the scores are low. Decent 71, 4-0, not exactly what he was looking for and after in terms of his grand total after 3 rounds. So, but Prigorov now leads the way, 222. Now going, dropping in, James Lichtenstein, United States current World Series leader. He's got a lot of work to do here, Joey, in this position.
He does. 5.4 DD. Double handstand.
He's got a heart rate of 141 on that. So putting together a good third round is Lichtenstein. Let's talk about the degree of difficulty again as we get into the third and fourth rounds, Joey.
So it's definitely been a battle of degree of difficulty and execution. So James Lichtenstein, average degree of difficulty round 3, 5.4. Heslop 5.78. Popovich at 5.3. But it's pretty interesting. So James Lichtenstein has been performing very well and very consistently. And he's had less degree of difficulty in total across round 3 and round 4, but he's always made the podium. So sometimes the divers like Aiden Heslop and Konstantin Popovich, although they have higher degree of difficulty, means there's a higher risk of faltering in terms of the execution. And we have seen both of them come off the podium, but of course we've seen them have some wins. But at the last stop in Oslo, James Lichtenstein won the competition in Oslo. That's his first ever win. But what is incredible is the level of consistency to make sure he's hit the podium at every single tour stop this season. Insane.
8.5, he'll toss that. He'll keep 3 8s multiplied by that degree of difficulty. So Lichtenstein sitting pretty nice coming into the men's fourth round with that 129.60. Earns him a grand total of 280.20 when you add the first 3 rounds together. So Lichtenstein way out ahead of Prigorov, but we have a lot more the big names coming. What are the questions, Joey? Can you change which dive you do tomorrow, or the dive set in stone once they start?
Yes, you can, and you can actually change it in the competition. Let's say, for example, you finish your round 2 dive. As long as you say to the judges, I want to change my dive before round 3 starts, that's if you're starting in round 2, then you can change that dive. So quite often, the divers will put a reserve dive down in their dive sheets that they submit to the head judge. So just in case something's not going well, they can say, please, can I put in my backup dive? And occasionally they do that. Doesn't happen that often.
Do you have to do it in practice before or anything? Or can you do it just in...
As long as the judges have seen that particular dive before, then it's fine. But yes, you do need to show your dives in practice, particularly if it's a new one. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like super
shaky.
James.
Careful, that's an understatement.
All right, Carlos Jimeno. It is just a crazy dive. For those who see this for the first time, Joy, and actually not for the first time, every time I see Jimeno do that arm stand dive, it's absolutely nuts. First guy ever to do it off of a raw cliff face, too. We saw it in Ireland at one time, which is nuts.
Down Patrick Head, that was right. I mean, it's just pretty amazing that we had a flat cliff face that was basically completely horizontal. But speaking of the arm stand, he was a little shaky in the arm stand. So the judges do need to see a steady balance before they take off from the platform. Let's say if they're wobbling a little bit too much, there can be some deductions. This is an insanely hard dive. 4.5 somersaults from the arm stand. The orientation and the aerial awareness on those particular dives, you really need to make sure you're counting the somersaults and spotting the visual cues. Your cue on a dive like this will be the one constant factor, the water. There, once, twice, seeing the water, 3 times. And then after that third time he spots it, he knows he needs to kick out. So that's a really good way to orientate yourself. So a lot of the athletes will spend time in what's called a harness, which is like this belt around your waist with ropes. And the coaches can suspend them in the air and spin them. And they teach them how to count the trampoline bed or the water below. And that is really important to develop those skills from the lower heights before you head up to 27 meters. You just don't hope for the best.
So Liechtenstein fending off Jimeno. Jimeno coming with a 276.60, putting him in a second as Aiden Heslop works his way up to the top of the men's platform. 27 meters, 90 feet up. Wind picking up just a teeny bit here, Joey.
And it's always different. Like, when you think, it's not that windy down at base level, but it's always more windy when you're on the platform. It's not too bad here. Nothing in comparison to Oslo at the previous tour stop.
Sergio needs some big scores to pull into first.
9.5 you would need from the judges. So reverse 4 somersaults, again referring to the graphics on the left-hand side of the screens. Always pay attention to that, and that will help you understand what the diver is about to undertake. And he'll be undertaking a reverse 4 somersaults tuck to gain a quad. In other words, from this 27-meter high-rise crane tower, which has been adapted with these platforms on it, of course.
Guzman straight over flips, dropping in, nice entry.
Little fist pump.
He did in his first World Series, 2015. Wildcard diver since 2019. Has one victory. That was in 2016. That was fun. You and I were both there.
Japan, that was fantastic, wasn't it?
Shirahama.
Pretty interesting his takeoff. I mean, in the front shot when he started it, I couldn't believe actually quite how much toe he has hanging over the edge of the platform. His toes are really hanging over the edge. Really important to make sure you get a good strong jump and not move too far away from the platform, but not be too close. He has in the past had a problem with moving too far away from the platform, which makes it harder to generate the rotation. So he's got the distance right on this particular dive. If you don't get that right, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. So it's very important in cliff diving to be the right distance from the platform from a technical point of view to help you complete the somersaults and twists. Lots of emotion. He's pumped up after the dive. There's always that emotion and a sense of relief and sense of accomplishment, right? You know, challenging your fears. You've always got fear there. You've always got that little bit of self-doubt saying, oh, can I do it? And then you finish the dive like that and you say to yourself, yes, I can. What was I worried about? Oh, nothing. It's only 27 meters.
His good friend Rhiannon Ifland comes in 258, so puts him into third. Don't forget, tomorrow, round 4, live. 2200 CEST, 4 p.m. Eastern Time here in Montreal. On Red Bull TV, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and USA on ESPN2 as we look at Gary Hunt making his way up. First, we're going to check out Aiden Heslop. Local Montreal folks know of him. Molly Carlson's boyfriend, but now resides in Montreal. All right. Needs 7s, Joey, to pull into the top spot over Liechtenstein.
Okay, so 5.7 degree difficulty. Back 4 somersaults, 3 twists. Super hard dive.
There you go, Heslop. Oh.
Whoa!
That one felt good. I like that one.
And what did he say?
It's one thing to smile coming out of the water, Joey, but when you're laughing, It's a whole nother thing after that dive.
Well, when he says, well, that one felt good and it sounded good, and you know when you get out of the water, you could hear everyone screaming. I think the first person you heard screaming was his partner, Molly Carlson, wrapping it up into the 2.5 twist, digging deep, gets into that pike position super fast, little scruffing the legs, like to see the legs and toes point a little bit more, but what did he do? Bam! Stood it up, did the disappearing act, got the rip entry down to impress the judges. Maybe a few little deductions for the form in the air, but with that really high degree of difficulty, combined hopefully with the good scores from the judges, which we will expect, and that will put a little bit of heat on James Lichtenstein, who is leading the charge in the World Series rankings right now. Hayden Heslop with the AOK sign after the dive, and looking pumped. Woohoo!
There you go, 9s, folks, across the board. So he'll drop 1, 9, and a 9.5. Keep 3 of them. Massive degree of difficulty. Molly's stoked. He is too, as he should be. So ahead of Lichtenstein by 36 points. But we have many not many, I mean several.
Yep.
Yet to drop. 12 men in this third round, including David Coulturi. He's coming up after Gary Hunt. But we have Gary Hunt, Coulturi, Martinez, Paredes, Popovich, and Fedotov. But that's what Heslop needed to put down to stay in the mix as we look at the great Gary Hunt. Here he is again, like in a solid position. Average needed for second, 8s, Joey.
Yep.
40 years old from France.
Yep. The GOAT, 10 King Kai Kili trophies to his name. Just finished competing in Paris in synchronized diving. What a career. What a gentleman. What a diver. Here we go.
In his 98th start, Gary Hunt puts one down. A bit of a concern, Joey, the angle. You could tell there was a splash. You never see that out of Gary Hunt. So that is what got everyone's attention.
Yeah.
And even mine. I'm like, wait a second.
Well,
I saw water come up.
And here's the point. I mean, he's just been basically training head-first landings the entire time this year. And I dare say since late last year. So he is shaking off a little bit of what I'm going to call a bit of cliff diving rust. He came up short of vertical. So that'll...
What's that feel like?
Well, he'll feel it at breakfast tomorrow. His neck will be a bit sore. Like, oh, bro.
I mean, everybody's asking that watching right now.
No, that's when you actually feel it. I mean, yes, you feel it on impact, but the next day you're like, whoa. Particularly the front of the neck. And if you haven't been cliff diving for a while, yeah, man, that's an uppercut. Yeah, he just copped one from Mike Tyson on that one, let me tell you.
So low scores by the judges for obvious reasons. Looks all right.
Anyway, look at my chin.
I'm not going to say we're flying over and turning.
2:17.10 after all 3 rounds added together. Still has a smile on his face.
What he just said then was, I went flying over on that dive in training. And so you normally make an adjustment.
So he made an adjustment the other way.
And then what he's done is he's just undercooked it. And sometimes that happens, but I bet you the next one, the middle one will come good. That's what we always say. Normally when you're doing a dive for the first time, sometimes if it's over for the first one, the next one will be short, the next one will be in the middle. So a bit unfortunate. Like I said, he's shaking off some competition rust.
We'll see what Dave Coulturi can put together here. As we have still to come down below, as you see, a strong group. Heslop leading with that 3:16.50. David Coulturi of the United States now, trying to put himself in a good spot going into that 4th round tomorrow. Needs 9s. Second. Boy, Heslop has a big score, Joey, that 3:16.50.
And a double quad.
There you go. Oh, wow. All right.
David Kulturi wrapped up the twist, and he's wrapped up the entry on that one.
He's pumped about that.
Nice.
Come on!
Come on.
Yeah, baby!
There you go, Dave. Nice work. As you mentioned earlier, so disciplined. Outside of just diving from massive heights. Very fit. Coming around, though. Having a great competition with these first 3 rounds.
And a great entry. Look at that, squeaky clean. Just a drop in a teacup. Big deep press, big strong jump. Getting into that twist, one arm laid over the head, one arm across the body. Then the arms come out wide. That helps stop the twist. David Kulturi finding form in Montreal. Squeaky clean through the water. Comes from a great technical diving background. Dove in Purdue University. Great pedigree of athletes and coaches from that college. And that gave him the foundation to be a great cliff diver. David Kulturi's got to be happy with this one here today. He's really been consistent across 3 rounds so far. So can he put it all together and make it 4 great dives with his 4th and final round tomorrow?
112.50. 277.10. So Kulturi, that puts him into 3rd, but Heslop way out ahead here after the 3rd round. Liechtenstein doing a great job, crawling back up the leaderboard, setting himself up nice for round 4. But this is round number 3. All 4 rounds count. Charlotte Martinez. It's a perfect dive to pull into the lead.
Big dive. Ooh, stand 3 now. Somersault's 2 twist. A new one for him.
There you go, from 27 meters, 90 feet up. The 21-year-old Charlotte Martinez continues to impress. Wow. Tell you who's looking solid for a permanent diver spot in 2025.
Charlotte
Martinez.
Yep, Charlotte Martinez turning up the heat with a little bit of Mexican spice on that one. And he only learnt this dive in Northern Ireland. And pow, down he went on that dive. There's the 1.5 twist. See that wincing on the face, working hard in the pike position. We've got a bright young star here in the Red Bull cliff diving scene with Charlotte Martinez from Mexico. Great job by all of his coaches back home to get those results. Good score.
Oh, pair of 9s, 8.5. Big score in the yellow, 137.80 on that dive. Puts him into 2nd. That is a great position considering the performance by Aiden Heslop. So just being in that 302 within 13 or 14, 15 points of Heslop. It's a solid result for the 21-year-old. Incredible. So Heslop, Martinez, Liechtenstein, 1, 2, and 3. It's not really about position right now, Joey, as much as it is the scores coming into the next round. Want to be up there. So Heslop and Martinez with those big scores. There's your leader, Heslop. 3 divers remain in the men's 3rd round. Paredes, Popovich, Fedotov. See what Johnny can put together.
Got back triple. Needs good scores as well. It's really high scores. He wants to be in 2nd. So Charlotte Martinez had a higher degree of difficulty than Jonathan previous dive.
There you go. That was great, Joey, right there. Coming off the platform. Super stylish. You should be, Johnny. Great dive, great entry. Man, this men's competition.
It's been good,
good one.
and it's on fire.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a dive that's plagued him in the past. As he said, he's happy now. So really good twisting technique. Just a little bit rounded on the entry. That would be my only critique of the dive. You look at the arms, how they swing up. They keep them straight. That helps generate that rotation. 2.5 twists, and then coming into the pike position. But again, to reiterate, that's 85 kilometers per hour, 55 miles per hour on impact. Just a smidge bent on ankle, or bent on the entry. Not much in it at all. Very smooth diving by Jonathan Paredes.
So 112.80 on that. Third dive. Puts him in a fourth, 278.80. So he's close to James Lichtenstein. Heslop running away with it right now. Your leader. Watching on is Aiden Heslop with that 3:16.50. 2 divers remaining. Konstantin Popovich, followed by Nikita Fedotov. The light changing here just a bit, Joey, as we approach. We just hit 6 p.m. here East Coast time in Montreal.
Coming into the golden hour, as we say.
Yeah. But for the divers, is that a bit challenging when the light changes this late?
It can be. If there's a bit of sun glare coming off, sometimes that can be a bit of a problem. If the glare starts popping off the water. It's really interesting here. We've got Konstantin Popovich, Romanian shark. He's got the exact same dive as Aiden Heslop. Okay, tit for tat. Let's see how he can perform this dive. Back 4 somersaults, 3 twists in the pike position, 5.7. He's going to need 9s if he wants to pull ahead of Aiden Heslop. This is shaping up to be a really fun competition.
How's that chamois too?
Yeah, nervously chewing the chamois. It's definitely a sign of some nerves, but all he can do is sit back and wait and watch.
Popovich. Aiden's checking it out. It's all about positioning with those scores right now, Joey. And tell you what, Popovich doing a great job after being in 7th position after the first round. Now he's up here, ranked number 2 coming into the 3rd round. What do you think this will put him in?
Can't say. I need to see dive again. And you can see actually Owen Weymouth, who's with Aiden Heslop, just chatting about the dive. There's a 2.5 twist. A little bit of split in the legs in the air, but great pike position. So athletic, really clean through the water. Slightly hunched, but all round a really good dive. We'll definitely get some good scores. I mean, we won't be seeing any 10s, that's for sure. See that knee bandage. Of course, that was from the injury, that hyperextended knee that happened in Boston and made that fantastic comeback to take the win in Polignano Amati. Just see how fine of an athlete Konstantin Popovich. Good scores.
All right, here we go. Now we're going to get up there close to Heslop. Keep one of the 9s, couple 8.5s for 148.20. So by 0.30, Popovich over Heslop.
Wow. Wow, that is nothing.
This is going to be an incredible competition in the 4th round tomorrow. Aiden says, that's all right. That's all right.
I mean, that's just like a 1/3 of a point, right? 0.30 difference between Konstantin Popovich and Aiden Heslop right now.
So in terms of degree of difficulty going into tomorrow, Joey, what do you expect between Popovich and Heslop?
Yeah, we got some big stuff going on. Aiden, I believe he has his 5.9 DD. Popovich, 5.8.
Right? Yeah, okay. So Whew, that's going to be fun comp. All goes down tomorrow, 4 p.m. East Coast time here in North America, live, Red Bull TV, 2200 CEST. Hope you join us as we look at Nikita Fedotov and the best scores after 2 rounds. That puts him into the top spot coming into this men's round 3. We'll see if he can carry that. Not easy now. When you look at the scores of Popovich and Heslop. Okay, so Fedotov coming in a little heavy there on the landing. Bit of a splash on that, Joey. Can't pull into the lead or second with that degree of difficulty at this point. So he's just aiming for 3rd to keep himself in a good position for the 4th round.
Exactly. So he's got a higher degree of difficulty dive coming up in round 4 tomorrow. So he was performing the back arm stand 4.5 somersaults, which had the highest degree of difficulty tariff. But it does come with some risk, and he took some hard landings. So he's just taken a little bit of a beat, a bit of a step back, and he may revisit that dive, but he just needs to go back and just practice the lead-ups and the lower heights.
Yep.
To get back in the swing of things. This is the back triple. But if you want to be in it to win it, you've got to roll the dice. You've got to do those big dives, like we're seeing with Konstantin Popovich and Aiden Heslop in particular. And of course, James Lichtenstein has slightly less degree of difficulty. He's played that more middle ground strategy. But great diving by Nikita Fedotov. A little heavy in terms of the splash, just a little bit hunched on the landing. Sometimes it doesn't take much to kick up that splash. So that's the way it goes. Not too bad though, not bad scores.
105.75 on that dive. But 276.95, so 7th place, dropping just as fast as you do into the water on the scoreboard is Nikita Fedotov from the top seed after 2 rounds, now in 7th, leading into the final round. So Konstantin Popovich, as I like to say, crawling out of the basement after round number 1, finding himself on the top floor of the penthouse suite, coming into the 4th round. So nice work by the 2023 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion. Konstantin Popovich will carry the torch coming into the men's 4th round with that 3:16, but not far behind is Mr. Aiden Heslop with 3:16.50. But how about Jaloto Martinez continues to impress us, and the rest of the competitors 3rd place after 3 rounds.
But it's still James Lichtenstein as well, just to kind of point him out. Okay, yeah, he's in 4th, but he's still in the running to get back on the podium. If he has another podium finish, he's still going to be in a really good position with the World Series rankings.
Fedotov dropping to 7th for that round. He'll have some work to do to get back up there. Charles Labadie gaining some experience will round out the top 12 for the men. Be interesting coming in to tomorrow's event, Joey. The 4th and final round, all 4 rounds count. Reminder of those new to Red Bull Cliff Diving. So it's important. Molly Carlson on the women's side leading the way. The fans are going to love her, the Brave gang, the whole scene. But look at Popovich and Heslop going back and forth. Lichtenstein still has some work to do. It's going to be fun.
It will be. I mean, particularly, there's just nothing in it between Konstantin Popovich and Aiden Heslop. That's just 0.3. There's nothing in it. It will come down to the wire. A little bit more of a difference between Rihanna Nifland and Molly Carlson with that, 14-point difference. But anyway, it'd be exciting action tomorrow.
Speaking of Aiden Heslop, he's with David O.C. down by the water. Dave.
Aiden, a little bit of a slow start, however, not to worry, because that 3rd round dive was incredible. Can you talk us through it?
Yeah, as you said, a little bit of a slow start down in 9th after the 1st round, but honestly, not a bad dive. Everyone was just crushing it yesterday. And round 3 here today, it's bumped me up from 9th to 2nd at the minute. Me and Costa within a point, it's pretty scary. I've definitely got to put some pressure on him tomorrow.
I think it's going to be an exciting 4th round. Now, can we talk a little bit about your partner? Obviously, we've seen Molly immerse herself here, but how has that been for the two of you competing here in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, it's an honor to have so many people come and just watch us do this crazy sport. And I mean, the Brave Gang with Molly is just unreal. Something we've never been used to, having this many in a location. But they're just exceptionally loud and supportive, and it's such a beautiful thing to see, especially in my my hometown now.
I like it. Lap it up and enjoy every moment of it.
Thank you.
All right, it's going to be great men's competition tomorrow. And again, it all goes down. Round 4 tomorrow live, 2200 CEST, 4 p.m. Eastern time here in Montreal. Of course, that's 1 p.m. Pacific time, California time. ESPN2 will be live on that. Red Bull TV, TikTok, YouTube, all the good stuff, Joey. It's going to be awesome.
It is. Make sure you stay tuned for that one. It's really going to come down the wire. It will be a thrilling competition here in Montreal.
All right, Trace Worthington here alongside Joey Zuber saying so long from Montreal, and we'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. live for round 4.